Hello and welcome back to the Gearshift chat. And today we are talking about the Honda Beat we had on our channel recently.
So
What did you think of it?
it was interesting to say the least, because wasn't that powered? Very small, but it was yellow and had a high rev range.
And it was black roof. It was like a bumblebee.
It was.
Literally, actually, the bumblebee is probably a very, very good analogy for it because you've got it's yellow and black first of all, right? It doesn't have incredible amounts of power, which means it revs really high. 9,000 horsepower out of a 3-cylinder, 64 horsepower.
Yep, 65.
So, like, you've ever heard a bee fly by? It? As in, like, you've got the really, really high RPM.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite lightweight, and it's actually surprisingly fun. A bee shouldn't be able to fly with little wings, but it surprisingly does. And so is that car. It's surprisingly fun, even though it doesn't have much horsepower.
Absolutely.
It's a perfect analogy. That's like a bumblebee.
Yeah. You know, during that whole video, we never had the roof down, so we were just squished underneath it.
Yeah, it wasn't the best day. It was kind of cold as well. Like when
Sorry.
did we film that? We filmed that in October.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah, because I was away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just October. So we filmed that in October, so it wasn't the nicest weather in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Cloudy, and I think it was raining a tiny bit.
Was, yes.
Really windy as well, actually. Forgot about that. But yeah, no, I think it was quite a cool one. It's definitely a very unique car. You don't see very many of them, and I've personally not seen really any of them. That's the only one I've ever seen in real life, at least.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, actually, when I was at the New York Motor Show, I actually saw a picture of one.
Really?
I was like, we'd love to have it on the display, but it's not here.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of cool. Just thinking about that, actually.
So it is actually quite rare. Yeah.
Very rare car, yeah. At least there's not many here in the UK. I think you'll find more of them in Japan.
Yes.
It's quite an old car as well, so
1990s. Yeah.
yeah. So
So yeah, what interesting things happened in that video? So
well, I remember it was really, really windy,
yep.
and while we were filming, I remember saying, "Look, you kind of just
Mhm.
if the camera goes, we should run and dive and save it." And there was for just after we finished, the tripod went.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and now we've got a dent in one of the tripods.
tripods.
Thankfully, not with the camera on it, so that was good.
not like one of the other videos.
We'll get to that.
But yeah, no, I think it was quite a cool little video. Surprisingly tiny fuel tank. I think I put 20 pounds of the fuel in it, and it pretty much took it from completely empty to full, which is, it's kind of nice to see. But
Yeah.
you spend like 120 quid or something, 140 quid to fill a tank, and 20 quid will do you. And the fact that it's so small, it's super light. It's got small little engines. I think it's a 650cc 3-cylinder out of a motorbike.
hmm
It's actually really fuel efficient.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So it's kind of like the perfect eco car. You can just drive it around town. I mean, it's kind of dangerous in the fact that you might get missed if someone's in a van or a lorry.
Yeah.
You might not even make their review mirrors. But
yeah, there
cool
was
little car.
There was a story. There's a YouTube channel called TDC, Top Dead Center, and they bought a red Honda Beat,
Oh no way!
and it was a crash damage one. Can you guess how it got crashed?
No one noticed it.
No one noticed it. A big lorry crashed into the back of it. Couldn't see
gosh!
it. So backlights and all were cracked. Now, it wasn't actually that bad damage, but the boot wouldn't close. So, and they realised
There probably
rear
wasn't
lights,
a boot after that.
No, there was. It was still usable.
Okay.
And the rear lights are not an easy part to find. So they guess that when it was getting evaluated, they were like, probably on looking for parts to see if they could actually get the part. Couldn't find it at all, and they thought, yeah, category N, non-structural.
Yeah, just a write-off.
They just wrote it off.
Yeah, that's the problem because just replacement cost on a car like that there, even though it's not really, really bad damage, it's just too expensive to replace. Just purely like a light bulb could actually be pretty much a write-off because how many of them are there? How hard is it to get? What's the cost to replace it? Sometimes insurance things is too expensive.
Absolutely.
Which is a pity because a lot of cars like that end up with really bad titles or it's sometimes they get scrapped, which is kind of unfortunate and sad.
Yeah, but they bought that car, and the guy who bought it has weirdly always dreamt of having that car. It was always one of his dream cars to own.
Yeah, so to be honest, it's never a car I've really ever thought about. I used to play Grand Theft Auto 5 back in the day on PlayStation
Lovely.
3. This is like 2010. with my brother, and there was a challenge. It was the K Cup challenge,
Okay.
and I remember my brother and I always went for the Suzuki Cappuccino, just because of the wacky name. But little did I know that, was that 14 years later, I'd actually end up being able to drive a Honda Beat, which is
Exactly.
pretty cool actually. If you think about it, like how many times have you played a video game, and actually been able to drive in some of those cars? Like I know we've had some pretty good experiences. We've driven in BMW M5s, Audi S3s, GTRs,
400 horsepower Jags,
supercharged Jaguars, V8 Corvettes,
yes,
Camaros.
a lot of nice cars.
We've been very fortunate in that aspect. But going back to it, it's quite a cool little car. There was a couple unique quirks and features with it. Like what's it called? Crawford is saying he's had the car for a good few years now, and he was actually in Belfast with the car one day, and some thieves cut the roof open. Now, going back to that story of insurance, just writing off for a taillight. Now imagine if they were going to write it off for a roof. No, I don't think he put it through to the insurance, but he actually had to get a whole new roof ordered and done, and I think it was a guy somewhere in the country here actually installed it and tailored it to the car to make it fit perfect. And
brilliant, yeah, it does the job, looks good.
But like it just, it's kind of crazy when you think of, you could take a convertible car to Belfast, or even into really any major city, and just people can just cut into it. You don't really think about that.
Oh yeah, it's not nice.
And it's arguably better for them to smash the windshield or smash the window than cut your roof.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a really salty criminal.
But did you know that is actually the highest powered or / fastest K car they made?
Oh, is it?
It is the fastest.
Oh, no, I had no idea. I didn't realise that.
And it's the only one with a mid-engine. Everyone's front-engined.
Yeah, now another thing as well is, was it the original Mr. Honda?
That was the last car he signed off.
Last car he ever signed off on when he was to sign in, and after that he retired. But it's a really, really nice car in the sense of, if you fit in it comfortably, it's small, it's comfortable, it's fuel efficient. There is a little bit of space. I mean, it is comfortable if you're small enough.
Yeah.
There is a decent bit of space in it for, you got your tape players, you got your tape rack at least. You've got tapes. Now I know Crawford's got a little adapter where you put like a tape in, and it's actually like a Bluetooth adapter.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool. Now one thing actually, if you ever notice in the back, it's got like a really weird spotlight that does, not a spotlight, a fog light that doesn't actually look like it came with the car originally.
Okay.
It's because when the car was imported, every car that doesn't have a fog light has to have a fog light in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually an aftermarket
Okay.
attachment. Not a huge fan of aftermarket things in cars, but that's one thing it has to have in the UK. Now, another thing about that car there was it actually had a couple issues where it wouldn't start and stuff like that, and had a bit of trouble back in the day. And my brother and dad actually managed to get that sorted. So they've worked in the car a couple times and got it running, and it's kind of cool to see a car come in and obviously it's not working, has its issues, and then being able to like drive out, and see it driving about and stuff, which is kind of cool. It's very I don't know.
Yeah,
happy feeling.
No, I get that. He, Crawford, the guy who owns it, he says that car's brilliant for like sliding.
Yes, so because it's obviously rear-wheel drive, rear engine. Crawford likes to take it out on the gravel sometimes and just send it sideways, do some donuts.
I mean, fair enough.
I mean, it's not my car. I wouldn't do it, but he says it's incredibly fun, so I'll have to ask him to take me out for a drive and do it for me sometime. But that's kind of cool.
It was so funny. Like, do you remember actually after the video, we went and got McDonald's after that?
Yes.
And we asked the woman at the front, what do you think of the car? And she said, it's a bit tight. And she said, oh, no, it'd be brilliant to see how many people punch each other every time they drive past. And I'm like, I forgot about that.
I forgot about that as well. What's it called? It's not something I ever really do anymore. I used to do it before. It's like, oh, yellow cab. Boom.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just drive past the bus and they won't even notice you.
I know.
I mean, it's a kind of like a perfect stealth car. It should be the Batmobile.
If it was black.
If
it was black, yes.
Batmobile. You wouldn't even know it. You're like, eyeline. Oh, there's a car down there.
You know what would be so funny? If you dropped the Corsus engine in there. If it would fit. I think it would.
I don't think well, remember that's a 3-cylinder. And if you actually look at it, it actually doesn't sit perfectly
sorry.
horizontal. It sits at a bit of a
Yeah.
perfectly vertical. It sits at an angle. Now 3 cylinders as well. You know, means it can rev quite high. I think its maximum RPM is 9,000 RPM,
Which is insane.
very very high. Now if you drive in that thing, you rev in it and you're like, oh, I'm already at like 5,000 RPM. I should have changed like 1,000, 2,000 RPM ago. No, you change it around 5,000 RPM. It's so weird. You're driving like a diesel.
Yep.
You change it like 2,000 RPM. Now you have to change it like 5,000 RPM.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're driving like my E-Class, 6,000 RPM is like the red line.
Yeah, I know.
You basically change it in red line all the time. It just feels so weird. But, you know, the car is designed for it. It's like I say, it's a motorbike engine, so it's kind of cool.
You know, so like we were saying with Crawford, he had to get the roof done. He also got the seats done. Now,
Yes.
the original seats, they are like leopard print, and it doesn't look nice.
I've seen a couple of them, yeah.
With him doing it in the black and putting the Honda Beat logo in it, it looks lovely.
Yeah.
He's done that really nice. It actually looks OEM.
Yeah, he's done it
Yeah.
very, very tastefully. Now, the other thing as well that he's done is he's actually got a 3D printer. And Kevin, his son, has actually, I think, either found or designed up the seatbelt brackets.
Okay,
So
yes.
on the side, there's a little guide that sits around here on the seat. And basically, you put the seatbelt in there, so whenever you're, you put the seatbelt in there, and whenever you're reaching for it, it's not like super far behind. It's literally just to stay by the seat. So it's nothing like, you know, safety related. It's purely just a convenience thing, and they'd actually broken. So he actually designed them up, painted them, printed them, painted them, sanded them, and you know, you wouldn't even know that they're not
Yeah.
even the original ones.
Smart thinking.
Yeah, so the things like it just shows you, like, you know, with a bit of you know, time, a bit of effort, and a bit of, like, you know, working around, making a bit of plans and stuff, you can keep car in a really nice condition. You know, how many people would, you know, if car's roof gets damaged, just send it to the scrapyard, or, you know, how many people put the effort into, you know, replace the interior, do the roof properly, take it to get sorted, you know, all the engine issues, clutch issues, whatever it has. And then, you know, still like go and put the little details and, you know, put this little piece of plastic that's been broken or damaged, replace that there, because, you know, like I said, you can't get parts.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to spend a lot of time getting the right people to fix the car, or, you know, doing it yourself. And, you know, just
Yeah.
fair enough to Crawford for you know, keeping it in good condition and fixing and
And
keeping it in-
trusting you to fix it.
yeah. So, but, like, you know,
Yeah.
we've got it sorted and fixed, and that's the main thing.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah. Now, on a bit of a different side note, I'm going to go on a bit of a side note, but this is interesting, trust me. So,
Okay.
you know the SL Gullwing, the Mercedes?
Yes, the original one.
Yep. I just found this out, and it's actually got a common trait between the Honda Beat.
Does it actually?
Both of the engines, well, actually, speaking of which, the engine, the gearbox, and a lot of the drum brakes actually all come out of the S-Class for the SL Gullwing, which I didn't know, but the engines are both at an angle to get them to fit in.
No
Both
way.
on the SL and on the Honda Beat.
No way. I did not know that.
Which, when I found that out, I was like, yeah, so the Honda Beat has the same thing.
That's kind of weird, because you don't really expect how many cars do you know have engines sitting at angles? Like, you know, usually if it's a straight six or straight engine, straight block, usually it's a perfectly 90 degrees, you know, perpendicular to the ground.
Yep.
We're sitting at an angle. That's kind of weird. Isn't
The
it?
only
It's
reason
unique.
they did that was just to fit. There wouldn't
Yeah,
have been any
space.
other reason, yeah.
I think the Honda is very similar to that, because I know, you know, obviously you have a boot,
Mm-hmm.
and when you open the boot, you've got a little bit of storage space, and you can access a tiny bit of the engine. But to actually have full access to the engine bay, you've got to take off the screws at the rear of the convertible cover. There's a little carpet there, you got to take that off. And then you've got two little hatches. Take one hatch off, and that'll give you the top of the engine bay. And then the other hatch will give you the whole engine bay, which is kind of unique. And the thing is, it is a Honda, so it is obviously going to be relatively reliable. You know, Hondas don't generally actually give many issues, which is obviously quite good.
Exactly.
But it kind of goes to, like, if you need to do work on it, it's not something you can just pop the bonnet, you know, do
Yeah.
something super simple on it. You know, you got to pop the bonnet, and you must have a screwdriver and some, you know, sockets and stuff to be able to access that fully. But it's also such a super light car. You can pretty much just push it by yourself. You don't really need that much help to actually move it if you ever had an issue.
Seriously, light.
But no, I think it's a pretty cool car, and think it's a very unique thing, and I don't think the quirkiness of cars like that are going to come back over again. You know, like I think
All
it's
cars
too
are the same.
small.
All cars are the same. Have you noticed that nowadays?
It's so weird. And like that's what we spoke about in the previous podcast was like things like the BMW M5. What's really the difference between a BMW M5 and an Audi S6 or RS6
Yep.
and an E63S? You know, effectively the same cars, just look slightly different manufacturer, but effectively they give you no real variation between them. Like the Audis used to have four-wheel drives. The Mercedes used to have naturally aspirated V8s. So did BMW. The BMWs were more full performance. Audis Mercedes are more comfortable. But like, you know, I think the quirkiness of the cars from the 90s and like the Honda Beats and, you know, those kind of cars, I don't think we're going to see that again, or really ever, in my opinion, because there's too many regulations, there's too many safety things. You know, it's like, I don't know. I don't think you could get the safety, you know, all the airbags you would need in a car today. Fitting in a car like that.
Oh no, it wouldn't work.
You know, the doors are just too thin, the car's too small. There's just not enough space, and I don't think, you know, even like you look at a new car, you know, new Golf, how much do they weigh?
Oh, they're heavy. They're heavy
You know,
enough.
and if you look at original generation Golf, they're a couple 100 kilos lighter. Like it's something I don't think we're going to see again, and it's pretty awesome that we can experience that. We can actually document it, get on the channel, and you know, see it and see how awesome it is.
Absolutely. What else was I going to say there? All cars, have you noticed, are all kind of the same. Like you said, but like back in the day, you would get a Mercedes for comfortable and usually reliable. But and if you want something safety focused, you go to Volvo. If you want something really, really reliable, that's just indestructible, Toyota or Honda type thing.
Yeah.
That's what you go for.
Certainly, yeah.
So, and nowadays, all cars are just kind of the same thing, just with a different kind of sticker badged on it. Someone said the Ferrari 458 is basically like like it's made by Audi. The interior, it's weird because like Ferrari's past were Ferrari F40. That the whole thing is felt. The whole interior is felt.
I think like you literally just said, the Ferrari feels like an Audi, and I think the major thing is in the last decades, what's happened, Audi, Volkswagen, all these big companies have bought up a lot of other companies, and they use a lot of the compatible parts. Because I know on the newer like Mercedes-Benz A classes, I think it's the A180s or whatever they are, they share engines with Renault, and you know how often you get in a car and you know this is used, this is off of this car here, different manufacturer. But you know, like I think was it a couple of years ago, my mom and dad were looking to buy a Touareg, one of the V10 Touaregs, and
diesel.
You know, the V10 5-liter V10 diesel, 300 something horsepower, but basically it's the exact same as a Audi. So the Volkswagen Touareg is the same as an Audi. I think it was a Q7 or something, which is the same as a Porsche Cayenne.
Yep.
So you know, at the end of the day, you know, you got three different kind of cars. That you got effectively a budget brand.
But I mean that's then good for parts.
Yeah, but that's one thing. I'm going to think of like, you know, all cars are the same these days. You have a budget brand, Volkswagen. You've got a mid-tier brand, Audi, and you've got a top-tier brand, a Porsche, and effectively they're all the same car, just slightly different badges, look slightly different, but effectively it's all the same. And I think that's where you were saying, like, you know, a Ferrari feels like an Audi inside, and you know, it's just, I think that's the problem, is the fact that back in the day, Honda had its freedom to do whatever it wanted to do. Audi, BMW, they're all separate, you know, companies, and they all kind of did their own thing. You know, if they wanted something, there would be some cross-compatible parts, you know, Bosch, and maybe they'd use similar things. But at the end of the day, they all had their kind of way they did it. And now that everyone's kind of like being brought up by these major groups, like Volkswagen Group and stuff like that, we have 10 different companies under the same, you know, group. They use the same this, same that, and it just ends up becoming the same car, just different brand. Like, you know, the Seat is basically a Golf. Everyone knows that. They're just a different brand, different name, but effectively it's the exact same car, which is kind of upsetting because you have these brands, but really, what are you paying? Why would you bother buying, a more expensive car when you can buy the same car for the same price or for cheaper, and it's really the same car. It's the same as the GT86s, Subaru,
Yes.
Subaru, Toyota, and Scion. I think
That
it is
was
in
it.
America.
Yes. Yep.
Same car.
Yeah, it's all the same car.
One of them's more expensive than the other, so why would you even bother paying the premium? All you're doing is just paying for the name,
Mhm.
and you get the same car. I think that's where the uniqueness and the quirkiness of cars died off, was when big brands ended up buying all the companies, and using cross-compatible components to try to reduce costs and make more money.
That's 100% it.
Which is unfortunate, and that's why I don't think you're going to get as many of these quirky, unique cars as what we had in the 90s and early 2000s and stuff like that, because you had a lot more small companies, or not even necessarily small companies, but companies being able to have the freedom,
have a bit of fun,
and
just
do things without having to worry as much about the profits. Now, I know a lot of them went out of business because maybe it wasn't the smartest business decisions, but definitely gave you a lot more unique stuff.
Yeah, like the thing about Honda, the NSX, what was that, 91 or 90, I think it was, until 2005 they had that car running, and didn't make another supercar until the new NSX that came out. I can't really remember. But recently,
the new NSX came out, I think it was roughly in late 2010s, 2015, something like that.
Was it? Okay. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, it was definitely probably within the last 10 years. But I think the problem is sometimes you just don't get the sales.
And funny enough, the first NSX did not sell well. It was praised in magazines for a brilliant car. It was titled the Ferrari Killer because it outhandled them, it outbraked them. It had good air conditioning, a nice interior. Like the small things were really, really good. It was built like a Honda. Reliability was a thing. It had a good short shift. So there were so many good things about it, but it did not sell well.
But see, I think the problem, well, at least in my opinion, I think what the issue is there is, you have a car like that. It's designed to compete with a Ferrari. It's designed to compete with like Lamborghinis. And, you can't make the price of the car really super competitive for people, the average Joe on the street. So your price is going to be relatively high. So even if it's a really, really, really good price for the car, even if it's half the price of a Ferrari, you're known as a Honda and stuff like that. You're not necessarily a super premium brand like Ferrari. And, how often have you seen a Ferrari advertisement or a Rolls-Royce advertisement? Because they're super premium and they don't need to advertise for people to want them because they're super rare. And the other thing as well is the advertising places, like go to a car show, right? You won't even see a Rolls Royce there.
Yeah.
But if you go to an aircraft show, that's where your Rolls Royces are, because someone who's going to spend £10 million on a plane doesn't have a problem paying $300,000 for a Ferrari or a Porsche or whatever. But the thing is, with the issue I think with the Honda NSXs and a lot of those kind of cars is they weren't they weren't expensive enough to become like that kind of like super premium thing. But I think the main thing was the name, and I think that's why if you look at the new ones, it's actually called Acura.
Acura. Well, the thing is, in America, it was always Acura.
Yeah.
The Acura NSX back in the day.
Yeah. But like, it's not a known brand for that kind of car, and I think you've got to really either come out of the box swinging, like what's it, Koenigsegg. Like
Koenigsegg, they had a really.
They never started off with like being like a Honda. Like a Honda, I don't think of Honda as a performance brand.
No.
Like I know they have really, really good bikes and they have the NSX and stuff. But when you think about a Honda, I think of a Honda Jazz, Honda Civic. Yeah, they make pretty cool cars, but they're not that tier of performance brand. And I think you got to do something what Toyota did, like the Lexus. And even to an extent, that wasn't as successful either. The LFA, was it the
LFA?
LFA, because I mean, if you have the money lying around, would you rather get a Lamborghini, Ferrari, or a Lexus, or a Honda?
And that's it. And that sums it up. And that's why Audi did it so well
Yeah, and
with
that's
the
what-
R8. Because what you're talking about is halo cars, is what
Yeah.
people call them. The Audi, I think, brand new was about 140 grand.
something like that.
Something like that, which is cheap for
What you're getting, yeah.
For what you're getting. Back in the day, it was a 420 horsepower naturally aspirated V8 4-wheel drive, good looking car. There was small things about that were just brilliant. It was that it was a supercar that wasn't a Porsche, because a Porsche isn't. I don't think it's counted as a supercar. It's counted as
It's somewhat of a
fast
sports car, yeah.
Yeah, it's a fast sports car. So. Yeah, that car, they did it so well, but with the LFA, I think they priced it at like $500,000.
Yeah, the LFA, that was a very unique car. It had the exhaust system tuned by Yamaha. So obviously, you know, there was a lot of expense put into it, and I think it was very much like the Bugatti. You almost sold it at a loss.
Yeah.
And they couldn't. I don't think they had. As perfect as that car is, because I think it's the nicest sounding V10
Oh my
ever in a production car.
Yeah.
If I had the money, I still wouldn't have bought one, because I would rather have had a Ferrari and Lamborghini. And at the end of the day, the reason why people buy Ferraris and Lamborghinis, if you want a car for speed, you know, if you're going to spend £200,000-300,000 or dollars on a car, you could buy a car for half the price, spend half the money, and have a faster car. You don't buy Lamborghinis and Ferraris for the speed of them. You buy them for the name and status.
Exactly.
And when you got something like that there, you've got to be like Koenigsegg, or you got to be like Nevera, something that hits the bucket to prove you're there. You're at that level. You know, it's something that's super rare, something that a lot of people want, and it's not, you know, just not the average kind of car that anyone can go get. So I think ultimately what I'm basically trying to say is that you know, many cars and car brands, you'll find with a lot of more premium brands, you don't get the derivative of the name, you don't get the car, you know, model, you get the brand name. So it's, what do you drive? I drive an Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Or what do you drive? I drive a Rolls Royce. Where if you go to more like less premium or super premium brands, you end up saying, well, what do you drive? I drive a Fiesta. I drive a Focus. I drive a Golf. I drive a whatever you drive. So I think that's where the issue with the Honda NSX and the Lexus and stuff came into it. They're not super premium where, oh, I drive a Lexus or I drive a Honda. It's, oh, I drive a Acura or NSX or whatever it is. So I think that's unfortunately where they fell off. And, you know, brands like Rimac and, you know, Koenigsegg and stuff like that, that came out the box hitting, you know, super premiums. So what do you drive? I drive a Koenigsegg. It's not, I drive a Gamera. No one knows what a Gamera is, but they know what a Koenigsegg is because it's not advertised in your local advertisements on TV. And that's the thing as well. Like Lamborghinis aren't advertised anywhere on TV, but in TV shows, movies, get you there.
Yep.
And it's like James Bond. James Bond is the advertisement for Aston Martin.
That's it. It's just
the way you say it. It's just purely a marketing issue of the name is known for reliable, cheap cars. And you don't want to be known for having a reliable, cheap car when you're looking to be James Bond.
Exactly.
I think that's where the ultimate thing goes to it.
Yeah.
But, you know, fantastic cars. And, you know, I love the Honda Beat. It was a fantastic little car and I really enjoyed filming it. And, you know, thank you, Crawford, for letting us do that. And
absolutely.
It was great to have it on the channel. But we have a new video coming out next week as well.
Yes.
And this is a video I had no involvement in, but it was a pretty awesome, good video. I don't know why I said pretty ass. I was going to say pretty fucking awesome video, but I didn't want to swear.
Well, you're sworn anyway. So, it was a blue Ford
with four-wheel drive.
400 horse.
Ooh.
Manual. And rare.
No, that is a big Ford Transit to pull 400 horsepower.
I know, right?
No, but yeah, the 400 horsepower, four-wheel drive, manual Ford. Very rare as well. I think you said there was only 3, or roughly. I think it was roughly 3 in Northern Ireland.
He reckons there's about 3 left,
which makes it very, very rare. which is pretty awesome actually. So that'll be pretty exciting to see, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. But
Absolutely.
we'll see you.
Hope you enjoyed that video when it comes out. So we'll see you in the next one, guys. Good night.